All right, let's archive another Factorio base. This one called because I didn't know what I was gonna do when I first started. Uh, but eventually, this grew into a base that tries to get to 1,000 science per minute in a very stable way, and takes a lot of lessons from previous bases. Also, a few constrictions that I made for myself this time was to kind of avoid destroying things that I've already built. So, as you can see, we still have our very start, our ship. And this is basically where we started. Where this train station is where the original starting resources were. Obviously, this is our starting lake. And you can kind of get a feel for the scrappy starter base thing, which it's now a critical component of the system, as it is the place that makes uranium ammo for all the outposts, all the artillery shells, and I believe there's still, nuclear fuel is still made here. Um, it has all the traits of a starting base. Basically, everything is squeezed in wherever it would fit, and I don't have much to say about it. The only cool thing, I guess, there's this Coverx system, which is basically this square. Has a little bit of combination, so it only lets in this one when the belt's not full, which allows for, basically you can see it in action there. This will make sure that if it needs more to consume, it takes it right away from here. And here it's only going to take out stuff it doesn't need. But yeah, that's the starter base. A lot of utility resources. I don't even know how much science it did, but it really only went as far as making enough science for nuclear and robots. And that's usually how I start the game. My initial base just takes me to nuclear, so that I can stamp one of these things down and and finally have power to properly expand, which is what happened. So this train line is the original segment, and this is the first outpost. I was experimenting a lot with outpost design. That's why you get to see these very weird train stations. I was basically trying to allow trains to queue, but yeah, I didn't really vibe with that design, so I moved on. You can see basically the age of an outpost by looking at the stations. So, like I said, the starter base was basically a goal to get to nuclear, so iron and uranium, so that I can start going nuclear. And then you can see this was my first stone, my first coal, my first copper, which is gone. And then at this point is when I was like, I need proper stations. They're blue pastable and copy pastable. So we have our little blueprint book, which, as you can start seeing, it has all of the pieces. And they're all grid aligned. I know, if you look over to the base, it does not seem to be in a grid, but there you go. It is really in a very tight grid. It's just a bit chaotic. I try to do a little bit different, but you can see these are my walls, trains, and this is a production unit, which I guess we can start going over when we get to that point. But first, let's look at the first full science manufacturer. Here it is. All of these independent modules do 100 science per minute. So you can see the evolution between the first one and then the second one as I guess just tighten up the design here. I still used a lot of space, but basically this served as the math. So I know how much I need in terms of oil, input ore, and as you can see, 3 blue belts of ore get consumed, and works really good. As you can see, it's still a part of the base. and it's still launching rockets. You can see 30 out of 100. It's getting there. So after that, at this point, basically, you have this section, and this section in the game is mostly complete. There's these small outposts. From then on was expansion. And first thing I did was a lot of outposting, so I did this whole side going up. I basically did this loop with all of the outposts as I go on. And obviously, as I plop down more production facilities, which I'm going to turn robots so we can see which ones are science, because they'll see you have the robots flying around. This one's the only one being special because this one is fully belted. There's no robots. So let's look at the new and improved. Very simple train stations. Throughput unlimited, which is also nice. And there you go. When it's robots, you can put things a lot closer together and make much better use of beacons. So pretty compact. If you're wondering what this is, we have plenty of this number right here, see 655. So these are the number of trains that are full in waiting bays. And this is like if it was below the set threshold, as you can see the V value. So if there's less than 2 stone trains sitting in one of the waiting bays, all of these things will flag me, letting me know that something is wrong. What else can I talk about? After a while, I got tired of the slowness of making materials for my starter base, so I made this thing. It makes everything under the sun. Basically everything that's placed on the map came from this one, or the starter base. And yeah, and then in here you have your builder trains. One of them is in here, the other one's probably refueling here. Yep, there he is. So one of the builder trains just builds nuclear outposts, and the other just builds science outposts and mining outposts, which is this one. So the general strategy would be to use my blueprint book. Oops, not this one. And with the rails, go to wherever I need to go, and then use all of the pieces to drop a train station, and then I have all of the outposts in pieces. So as you can see, different unloading stations. The spill box was what I used to kind of keep the spiders at bay. But yeah, overall, I just wanted to quickly archive this base. This definitely was a lot of fun to make. It would look cooler if I didn't have to make the perimeter wall, I think, because it could be ever expanding, but hey, it's compromises. So one last look at the science. As you can see, a very tight in variation, and we're looking good. That's it. I think there's, just for complicate someone's head, these lanes are actually balanced. Yeah. Don't know if we're nearby to having the train here. Oh yeah, it's almost going. Oh, it would take forever, but basically the secret here is that I use these things on almost every station, and this was something that came out of necessity. But basically, this thing outputs the average per box as a negative number, and then these inserters will do the calculation of like, hey, is this box less than average, then insert. If not, don't insert. And this will keep all of the boxes balanced. And the reason I did this on basically every station right from the start is that biters kept eating half my trains, and then a train would go and load with, you know, 2 half full carriages and 1 completely empty carriage, and have to spend a long time because the 2 sections of the station wouldn't have enough to refill everything. And basically just make sure that the station is only open if each of the carriages can be filled as fast as possible. And for that to be possible, everything needs to be balanced. So this is something that is basically at every loading station. And this also keeps track of available input stations. So this combinator here will say if the copper signal is above 1 and the green signals are 2. 2 means that yes, there's enough stock to fill a train, and no, there's no train already coming this station. Trains is the same thing that I usually do. So there's always the, you know, stock and demand. The only really different thing that I did is that there's all of these like waiting schedules. And basically what that does is I have spread out throughout the page these waiting bays. So here's a good spot. Every place that would take iron or copper is currently full, and as soon as one opens, this guy, the closest one that's waiting, will get there. And this basically creates enough buffer that no production facility is always like a long time without a train in the station. Which I believe is arriving. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, cool base. Probably gonna be a source of a lot of blueprints for when the DLC comes out. Or, you know, maybe the recipes are all changed and it's new blueprints all over. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, see you in the DLC.